people, Richie here from Driftomaniacs, and this is my Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL review. Now, unlike my normal reviews, I'm not going to be doing an unboxing on this because literally 2 bits of foam in the car in the middle, transmitter at one end, and your instruction manual at the other end. So unboxing it would have only taken me about 30 seconds because, like a lot of the latest Traxxas models, this doesn't come with a battery or charger, so you're going to need to budget for the batteries and chargers on top of the car if you've not already got them. Okay guys, well before I get into my detailed review of this car, I've been driving it a little bit over the past few days, so I'm going to throw a few of my thoughts on how it handles, what it does well, what it doesn't do well, along in this video. I'm also going to throw in some comparison stats and features with it, comparing it to the Armour Granite 4x4 BLX, which I know a lot of people are looking at the two of these, maybe thinking the Armour's $100 cheaper, Traxxas one is $100 more expensive, etc, etc. Anyway, as ever, if you like what you see in this video, don't forget to subscribe. And as we get on with the review, I'm also going to talk about what it does well, like go quite fast, what it doesn't do so well, like the self-writing, now, and what it does well at, first time out, is some jumping. So, that gives you a little flavour as to about what I'm going to be covering in this review. Anyway, get on with it, Richie boy. Okay, well first of all, the transmitter. Your ubiquitous Traxxas TQI 2.4 GHz transmitter. Very solid, very robust. Throttle, brake, steering left and right. You've got your function and your set buttons. On the top there, your multifunction button for the TSM on here. Steering trim on the left. It takes 4 AA batteries underneath. It's link module enabled. That is not to say it comes with the link module. You'll need to spend about another $40. I'll put a link to one of those online below the video. You need to fit that module in order to use the full functionality of the app with this transmitter. Nonetheless, it's a great transmitter to my mind. Now first of all, before I dive into the car, the instruction manual packet, a lot of the time I don't bother kind of going into these in any great detail. However, we've got a couple of goodies in here which is slightly different from the norm. We've got a fairly basic toolkit included in there, which isn't the bit I'm after at all. A few suspension components, stickers, more suspension components. More to the point, we've got these 2 bits which are different to a lot of Traxxas cars. These are the 2 bits that I was after from this packet. One is the optional pinion gear on here. This is a 17-tooth pinion and it's included with it. Not all Traxxas cars, to get that maximum speed that they quote in the box, include the optional pinion. This one does. However, this is the 17-tooth pinion which will give you 60 miles an hour plus. To get that 65 miles an hour plus, the Traxxas claim on a box, you're going to need to buy a 22 pinion, which yours truly has done and fitted this week. This additional little bit on here is an extra battery strap, which I will come on to in just 1 second when I open the car up in more detail. So it gives you 3 different options, the way they've got the battery set up configured on this car, as you'll see in just a second. Okay, in the rest of the packet here we've got our ubiquitous Traxxas stickers, TQI performance guide, we've got our warranty document on there. I would always recommend, by the way, filling the online warranty in for your product and registering it. There's the information detailing about what Traxxas batteries fit. More to the point, there is the Rustler 4x4 VXL manual and quick start guide. Whilst these quick start guides are very useful, you will find that over a period of time Traxxas puts out more support information online than is included in this manual for things like how to change the gearing, etc, etc. Anyway, that's all the stuff you get in the box, so let me show you the car. Okay, now I went for the green and blue Traxxas Rustler 4x4 body. You can get it in a red and orange, but yours truly has already got the Traxxas Revo 2.0 in that colour, so I thought I'd go for something a little different this time. Anyway, let me start on the front of the car. Over. And you've got inside this body, which I'll show in just a second, an exoskeleton, which is what Traxxas seem to be moving to with all those cars, although I am quite a fan of that. I'm just then going to filter around from the back, got a little ring on there. This wheelie bar, when I first saw it in Talbot's Toyland, I was slightly sceptical. I was thinking, if you land backwards off a big jump ridge, this comes down at 90 degrees to the ground, bang, that is going to smash to pieces. But I actually think the way they've set it up is very good, but you've obviously seen more on that with the body off. So that's just the rear end of the thing. So do a quick suspension test in a second. Now, I have been out and playing with it, as you will have seen from my past few videos. A little bit of dust on the tyres there. To my mind, they've got a very good grip, and what I'm noticing is they are definitely designed for speed. The fact that it wouldn't easily self-right on that first 3S test I did with the stock gearing doesn't worry me. I would far rather the tyres balloon far less. I'd far rather have to go and flip the thing over than the tyres be ballooning that much at speed. Hope that makes sense. Just panning down the underside of the car. I'm told that these A-arms are backwards compatible with existing Rustlers. But whether that is the only part that's backwards compatible, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure there will be some Rustler experts out there that will tell me. A little tricky to balance, it's got all the rear on that wheelie bar. But overall, quite impressed with the underside of the thing. Not a lot to catch on there, although I do wonder about that servo position. Okay, now, it does have the quick release body in much the same way that the X-Max and the Revo did. So simply turn that latch to the side, flick it back, and it pulls off. It is quite tricky the way it locks on at the front is slightly different. The tongue on that thing is not as big as on the e-Revo, so it requires you far more of an effort to look underneath when inserting it home into this slot here. Anyway, thumbs up if you like what you're seeing there, guys. I'll tell you one thing, I know from taking it out, this thing absolutely flies. It is very, very lightweight. My first impressions of it, don't buy this thinking it is like a mini Traxxas e-Revo 2.0. It's not. It's very much got its own character. Just like the e-Revo, it does want to under full throttle. It does want to get that nose up in the air very, very easily. The tyres, though, unlike the e-Revo, I would say are very much designed for high-speed running. They don't balloon an awful lot from my first impressions on it. I run it on the speed pinion. They're not huge on ballooning, which means, unlike the e-Revo, it doesn't self-right particularly quickly, if at all in some cases, but the tyres have got far more stability at speed because they're not ballooning, so you kind of pays your money, you take your chances on there. Very, very different. The e-Revo's got the inboard suspension set up. The e-Revo weighs probably about 3 times the weight of this thing, but this will do like the 60-65 miles an hour on a 3S pack, whereas the e-Revo, you're running it on 6S to get that kind of speed. So your running costs on this should, fingers crossed, be lower. And for one thing, you're only having to buy one 3S battery, not two 3Ss to get up to 6S. Now, before I pan down the car on the inside, you may be wondering, what the heck has he got all those batteries for? More on that in just a minute, folks. Anyway, starting around at the front of the car. The first thing I would say is on this, it feels far, I know it's a lot of plastic in it, it feels far less plasticky than a lot of Traxxas cars that I've tested recently. It's got a much, much sturdier feel to the whole car on here. Front impact bumper on that. Fairly rigid, but if you hit this thing going like 50 miles an hour plus, you're going to want that rigidity on there. They already have optional big bore shock absorbers and also extra long shock absorbers available to order online for this car, so I may have a play around with those. I'm also going to set this up for mainly on-road use as opposed to off-road use for doing some of the speed runs on air. Moving on down, the strength on this car is in this honeycomb chassis running down the centre and the left and the right. We've got our waterproof receiver box on here, ubiquitous brushless ESC on here, full in 3.5 kV motor, aluminum drive shaft on the centre. It is a hollow one, as you can see from the little, I believe this shaft is hollow because that's the it interfaces with at that end. Excuse me, I've got a Dean's adapter to Traxxas on there. And located behind here, we've got our spur gear and our pinion gear. Very, very easy to change. I've got a video coming out, if it's not already, on how to do that. So it's not a big job at all, probably a couple of minutes work on here. Now, the thing about this is the more eagle-eyed amongst you will have spotted, this has got plastic drive shafts. And I know people say, oh, the armour hasn't, the armour's all metal. Well, sorry guys, the Armour Granite 4x4 BLX also has plastic drive shafts. At this price point, something has got to give, and I believe the plastic drive shafts is one of the things to enable them to build it to this price point. Okay, now, this rear end, as I said, my worry was, if this had a hard landing, coming down like that, whether it was going to bust the thing to pieces, because I've got on my Armour Granite 4x4, I've got through 2 wheelie bars, smacking them down and breaking them like that. This thing is designed to flex in either direction when it lands off of a jump, so that is not going to bust easily, which is a great feature and a big advantage to my mind over the Armour Granite BLX. Just panning around that rear suspension. As I say, you can get aluminium big bore shocks for the thing and aluminium big bore extra long shocks for this car. Anyway, let me know your first thoughts in the comment section below the video, guys. Plus points in its favour over the Armour. You've got that clipless body on there. Now, there, strikes me, is to show you, is the exoskeleton built underneath the body on there. So that's like a built-in roll cage for the car. Now, about that battery strap and all those batteries, let me show you something. This is the 3S1 pack. Link to these batteries below the video. Should be anybody interested, as they're very, very good. It just squeezes in, and that is not the biggest of packs. That's 3,000 milliamps in there. That holds it nice and snugly on there. So what's the problem, Richie? Okay, trying my 2S pack, Avonic one. 5,000 milliamps. Barely squeezes in, even though that's only 2S on there, and you're really going to have to put pressure on the lid to clamp it down. So still not too bad. Tight when you remove it though. Florian 3S pack, 5,000 milliamps on it. What you do for fitting one of these babies in is spin it over, and you can turn it around, and it fits in easily. We've got a huge gap under there. Spin it around the other way, like it was before, and you're really struggling to clamp the battery down. Get the battery clamp down on the thing. That's just going to be too much danger, putting the thing under too much stress. So to fit one of these in, you'll need to use the optional flat battery strap to put that in place. Avonic one, too long to fit in there, 5,500 milliamp 50C pack, which would make you think fly, no doubt, but it simply won't fit. It's too long. So that battery tray is going to be quite limiting as to what options you can use with it. I've no doubt all the Traxxas batteries fit in there very nicely, and you're obviously going to be able to fit this extra battery strap on there, replacing that one. If you just got one particular pack, then that will fit flat on the top on there. So that is going to give you options. So an example, if I wanted to fit that fluorine pack in there, I can do so, but it's still going to be sitting a little bit high on there. So your batteries may be an issue. Just something, it's not a big gripe, it's just something to be aware of. I wouldn't hold it against the car, because I think that battery strap, the way you can flick the thing round and the way they've included the secondary battery strap, is absolutely brilliant. Okay, doing my ubiquitous suspension test, where you lift one wheel up to see just how far it goes before the back one begins to come up. Ooh, we probably got a good, coming up on 4 inches of room on there. So that is quite impressive. That one till the back lifts there. Yeah, definitely 4, maybe closer to 5 inches of room on the front. And that about the same on the back. Yeah. Overall, I will say the suspension feels very good, very tight, very well damped on here. I think if you're going to be doing big jumps, you're definitely going to want those big bore shocks. The longer travel on there, if you're going maybe heavy off-road, I like my cars to sit a little bit lower down unless I'm going to make suspension adjustments to get the thing sitting a bit lower. But if you want to go big air, they do, as like I said, they do extra long shocks, which is the first one to my mind for Traxxas, but somebody out there may know better. But overall, very, very well damped. And good suspension on the car. It feels very, very solid, but only time will tell when sadly we hit something or not. Well, I'm going to set the car up for mainly hard pack use, because that's the kind of terrain that I tend to run on in general. You've got quite a lot of flexibility in the suspension setup on this car. So things it's not a mini e-Revo 2.0 VXL, so don't buy one of these thinking it's going to be an e-Revo, because it's not. It's very much got its own character. That low CFG chassis on there, I guess, is maybe a little bit similar to the Slash, although I'm told it's a Net Cruiser tells me it is a completely new chassis on there. Overall, I've been very pleased with its handling so far. Do check out some of the high-speed runs it's been doing. Bear in mind, with those high-speed runs, it's in 60-65 miles an hour compared to the Armour Granite 4x4 BLX, which is 100 less, It's claimed 50 miles an hour on there. This is going to handle very, very different to the Armour Granite BLX, believe me, boys and girls. What extra features does Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL got? It's got the clippers body, which pops off easily at the back, a little bit less so at the front. Quite surprising that's on that, but that's no problem at all because my e-revel one continually pops loose when it takes a big hammer in. In addition, the Rustler 4x4 VXL does have the self-righting function fitted to it. However, if you saw the video that I did the other day, it's a little bit hit and miss. I can say though, I've been out testing this today with the speed pinion fitted on it, and the thing self-righted itself first time out when I absolutely needed it to. Thank goodness, because I was on a public road with it, so couldn't complain at it today. But I wouldn't let that self-righting feature sway your purchasing decision when it comes to buying the Traxxas Rustler 4x4. As I say, I've been out playing with it over the past few days. Very happy with the way it handles at speed, quite happy with the way it jumps. However, it does hang for an awful long time in the air, and midway through I was thinking both times on those jumps it was going to come head on down, and it just managed to get back on its feet and land on all four wheels. So if you're going to be doing lots of jumping with it, you might want to think about changing the tyres for something like trenches or something like that with a bit more weight in, which will give you that bit more flexibility to front flip, back flip in the air. However, these tyres to my mind are definitely geared up for speed. Even at sort of 60 miles an hour, I've been hitting with the thing. Felt quite comfortable with the car. A lot of cars at that peak speed can be on a knife edge. This wasn't, which is a good thing about it. Anyway guys, I hope you like that review of the Traxxas Rustler 4x4 VXL. If you did, then don't forget to subscribe and by all means share with friends. We hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on the circle image to subscribe. And if you hit subscribe, then don't forget to hit that little notifications bell next to it.